General definition of a resonator first. First you need to listen. An operator that increase the resonance of a sound, especially a hollow part of a musical instrument. Let us discuss with the relation of musical instruments. So if you have a musical instrument operator, that if you increase the resonance of a sound, especially a hollow part of any musical instrument, that resonant device, a system that exhibits a resonance or a resonant behavior. That is, it is naturally oscillates with greater amplitude at some frequencies is called resonant frequency than at other frequencies. It means that the oscillations in a resonant can be either electromagnetic or mechanical. That oscillations may be in a resonator or can be either a magnetic, electromagnetic or mechanical. So this is the general definition of a resonator. This is a device that exhibits the resonance or resonant behavior. It means that naturally which oscillates with the greater amplitude at some frequencies is called a resonant frequencies. Okay, coming to cavity resonator. Coming to cavity resonator. So the definition of a cavity resonator is an electronic device which consisting of a space usually enclosed by metallic walls within which resonant electromagnetic fields may be excited and extracted for use in microwave system. The cavity resonator is an electronic device which consisting of a space usually enclosed by metallic walls within which resonant electromagnetic field may be excited and extracted for use in microwave system. So overall the electronic circuits are not suitable for high frequency resonators. If you have a high frequency signals, okay, high frequency signals, the signals is not suitable for electronic circuits. If we enclose two ends of rectangular waveguide with metallic walls, we have a rectangular cavity resonator. In this case, the wave propagation in the jet cap direction will bounce because the two walls resulting in a standing wave in the jet cap direction. Coming to waveguide components at today's topic. So up to that, basic definitions of resonator and cavity resonator. We already discussed these two, these cavity resonators. So from that we have different components. Why you need cutoff frequency, that and all we already discussed. And quality factor also discussed. Dominant modes and resonant frequencies also discussed. Coming to today's topic, waveguide components. The power measuring devices are waveguide components which are used to couple power from the waveguide system to measure power, frequency and other system parameters. Which is a power measuring device or waveguide components used to couple power from the waveguide system to measure power, frequency and other system parameters. So these devices includes directional couplers and power meters. These devices include directional couplers and power meters. This is the waveguide components. Next, some of the applications of waveguide. Waveguides are, we know it. These waveguides are used in optical fiber communication. They are used in photonic integrated circuits. They are extensively used in microwave ovens. And waveguides are used for broadcasting and radar installations, and they are used in spacecrafts. Just you need to remember these 5 points are the applications of waveguides. Waveguides are used in optical fiber communication. They are used to photonic integrated circuits. They are extensively used in microwaves. Waveguides are used for broadcasting and radar installations, and they are used in spacecrafts. They are used in spacecrafts. You need to note down all these. Waveguides are used in optical fiber communication. They are used in photonic integrated circuits. They are extensively used in microwaves. Waveguides are used for broadcasting and radar installations. They are used in spacecrafts. Next, types of waveguides. So basically, according to our syllabus, there are 5 types of waveguides. There are 5 types of waveguides. First one is a rectangular waveguide. We already discussed rectangular waveguide. Second one is circular waveguide. We have to discuss circular waveguide. And the third one is elliptical waveguides. Elliptical waveguide. Next, single ridge waveguide. Next type is single ridge waveguide. And the fifth one is double ridge waveguide. You need to note down all 5 types of waveguides: rectangular waveguide, circular waveguide, elliptical waveguide, single ridge waveguide, and double ridge waveguide. Next one is scattering parameter. Scattering parameter. See the diagram. So we need to take one example for this explaining of scattering parameter. You need to take a linear 2-port network for explaining scattering parameters and some of matrix we have from the syllabus. So just you need to the 2-port network, which is a linear 2-port network, are characterized by number of equivalent circuit parameters we have from the diagram. So from this diagram, we have a transfer matrix, impedance matrix, admittance matrix, and scattering matrix. You need to see this typical 2-port network. See this typical 2-port network. From this, let us assume if you are applying A1 input signal to your 2-port network S. If you are applying A1 signal to your 2-port network, we will get it at the output terminal B2 signal. So after applying A1 input signal to your 2-port network, which will be have V1 voltage, and once if you are applying V1 voltage to your 2-port network, this voltage will be inducing the current. Inside we have the current flow will be happening I1. If you are applying A1 signal with amplitude of V1, the I1 current will be flowing inside your circuit at the input side, at the input terminals. After that, if you want to note down output signal from the output terminal, we have the current, the flowing current at the output terminal I2, and the output voltage, the output signal amplitude is V2, and the current of output signal is I2. And that signal you need to represent like B2, which is a 2-port network. Let us assume if you are applying A2 signal like in this direction, if you are applying A2 signal from left to right, if you are applying a signal, this is a 2-port network. Because that reason, first case you need to apply the input signal in this direction from right to left. Next case is you need to apply your input signal from left to right side. So if you are applying A2 signal from left to right means that signal amplitude is V2, assume that, and the current flowing in the left terminal is I2. Okay, so which will be entering into the two-port network S. After performing some operations or processes inside the two-port network, which will be generating the B1 signal at this port 1, and that signal amplitude is V1 and the current is I1. You need to remember, it means that the incoming signals are A1 and A2 and the outcoming signals are B2 and B1 in both directions. We need to get those two signals, incoming signals and outcoming signals from two-port network at right side and at left side, in both sides. Okay. And from that we have a transfer matrix, also known as ABCD matrix. So that transfer matrix we will get it from this only. We will get it from this. So how to represent that transfer matrix means, from which will be relates the voltage and currents. The transfer matrix will be relates from the current and voltages at port 1 to port 2. Let us assume this is the port 1, this is the port 2. We need to get that transfer matrix from port 1 to and port 2, which are relates to voltages and currents. You need to represent that like in this manner. V1 I1 is equals to ABCD into V2 I2. This is transfer matrix. You need to represent like in this manner. Whereas the impedance matrix relates to two voltages V1 and V2. If you want to represent impedance matrix from the two-port network, you need to represent like this. V1 and V2 is equals to, impedance means you need to represent like a Z1 and Z11 and Z12, Z21 and Z22 to the currents I1 and I2. This is impedance matrix. You need to represent the impedance matrix like this. V1, V2 is equals to Z11, Z12, Z21 and Z22 into I1 minus I2. Just you need to remember, transfer matrix is also known as the ABCD matrix, which relates the voltage and current at port 1 to port 2. And whereas the impedance matrix relates to two voltages V1 and V2 to the currents I1 and I2. So that I1 values will be varies, depends on the direction of the current. Okay, sometimes we will get it a minus I2 or sometimes we will get it maybe minus I1. Okay, so the next one, you need to represent transfer matrix and impedance matrices, which are 2 by 2 matrices. The transfer matrix T is equals to ABCD, or else the Z1 impedance matrix Z11, Z12, Z21, Z22. And the one more you need to represent the admittance matrix is simply the inverse of the impedance matrix. Y is equals to Z inverse. Y is equals to Z inverse. From that we need to get the admittance matrix, which are the inverse of the impedance matrix. First you need to find out impedance, after that you need to find out the admittance with the help of the impedance. It means that you need to do the inverse of impedance, then you will get the admittance matrix. Okay, after that you need to find out the scattering matrix. After that you need to find out the scattering matrix. Scattering matrix relates to the waves outgoing and incoming waves. The scattering matrix relates to the both incoming and outgoing waves. We have from the two-port network. Incoming waves are A1 and A2. From the port 1, A1. From the port 2, A2. From the port 2, outgoing wave was outgoing wave is B1. From the port 1, outgoing wave is B2. You need to see these incoming and outgoing waves are from the two-port network diagram. So you need to see that. Yeah. Diagram. So the incoming waves are A1 and A2, and the outgoing waves are B2 and B1 from the two-port network in a CV. Okay. And that are incident on the two-port. Okay. So you just you need to represent outgoing waves B1 and B2 is equals to scattering matrix into incoming waves. Thus, the outgoing wave B1 and B2 is equals to scattering matrix into incoming waves. And sometimes you need to represent your scattering wave. S is equals to only S11, S12, S21, S2. From this scattering wave, from this scattering matrix, S11, S12, S21, S22 are referred to as scattering matrix parameters. Scattering parameters. You need to call these four are scattering parameters. S parameters. Sometimes the examiner will ask the question, explain about scattering parameters. At that time, you need to draw the two-port network diagram. From that, you need to explain how to define or how to derive the expression of a transfer matrix, impedance matrix, admittance matrix, and scattering matrix. You need to derive expression for all matrix. Okay, now. After that, you need to write the matrix elements S11, S12, S21, S22 are referred as the scattering parameters or S parameters. And from these, the parameters S11 and S22 are the meaning of the reflection coefficients. These two are S11 and S2 are reflection coefficients, and S21 and S12 are the meaning of transmission coefficients. So the examiner will ask the problems from this S matrix. Find out the meaning, find out the reflection coefficients and finding the transmission coefficients. Sometimes they will ask the question from this also. We will discuss the problems after this. The next one is scattering matrix only. How to define the scattering matrix with the relation of your waves. Your input waves or output waves, or your incoming waves or outgoing waves. How to define? So first you need to define the scattering matrix definition. The scattering matrix is defined as the relationship between the forward and backward moving waves, which means that the relationship between the incoming and outgoing waves. Scattering matrix is defined as the relationship between the incoming and outgoing waves. For two-port network, like any other set of two-port parameters you need to take, the scattering matrix is 2 matrix or 2 by 2 matrix. The scattering matrix is the 2 matrix or 2 by 2 matrix. You need to represent that is V1, V2 is equals to S11, S12, S21, S22 and V1 plus V2 plus. Here if you assume that these are negative, we'll get it here plus. Like that we need to represent the scattering matrix. After that, we need to discuss properties of this S matrix. Properties of S matrix. Properties of S matrix. In general, The scattering parameter have complex quantities. These have complex quantities. Those quantities we will discuss from the following properties. Let us assume property 1. When any Z port is perfectly matched to the junction, when property 1, when any Z port is perfectly matched to the junction, then there are no reflection from that. If Z port is perfectly matched to the junction, then there are no reflection from that. Thus, the S matrix is equals to Z. Why means the S11 and S22 are zeros. There are no reflections from that. And if all the ports are perfectly matched, here we are taking only 2 ports. If 2 ports are perfectly matched, then the leading diagonal 2 elements, we already discussed S11 and S22, will be 0. If the all ports are perfectly, all 2 ports are matched, perfectly matched, then the leading diagonal 2 elements will all be 0. Okay. Next to property 2, symmetric property of S matrix. Symmetric property of S matrix. If a microwave junction satisfies a reciprocity condition, and if there are no active devices, if the microwave junction satisfies a reciprocity condition and if there are no active devices, then the S parameters are equals to their corresponding transposes. That is, Sij is equals to Sji. Then the S parameter are equal to their corresponding transposes. That is, Sij. Sij is equals to Sji. This is the property 2. Next to property 3. Unitary property for a lossless junction. The third property is unitary property for a lossless junction. This property states that for any lossless network, the sum of the products of each term, products of each term of any row or any column of S matrix with its complex conjugate is unity. With its complex conjugate is unity. You need to remember, for any lossless network, the sum of the products of each term of any row or any column of the S matrix with its complex conjugate is unity. With its complex conjugate is unity. This is unitary property for a lossless junction. Next property is phase shift property. This is property 4. Phase shift property. In the name itself we have the phase is going to shift. The complex S parameters of a network, are defined with respect to the positions of the port with respect to the positions of the port, or sometimes the reference planes also we need to take the positions. For a two-port network, for a two-port network, for a two-port network with primed reference planes, with primed reference, primed reference, primed reference planes, we need to take two, plane 1 and plane 2. We need to take two planes, plane 1 and plane 2. Fine, which are shown in the figure. In the figure we shown, we need to take two references. Okay, now we'll see that. Fine. These parameters have definite values. Definite values. Fine. Next, coupling mechanism. Next one is coupling mechanism. I think you know it. What is meant by coupling? Coupling is a device used to connect two shafts together at their ends for the purpose of transmitting the power. So why you need to coupling means the purpose of transmitting the power, you need to coupling, connect two shafts together at their ends for the purpose of transmitting the power. You need to remember, a coupling is a device which is used to connect two shafts together at their ends for the purpose of transmitting power. A coupling is a device which is used to connect two shafts together at their ends for the purpose of transmitting power. So the primary purpose of couplings, the primary purpose of couplings is to join two pieces of rotating equipment, is to join two pieces of rotating equipment while permitting some degree of misalignment or end movement of both. Coupling is to join two pieces of rotating equipment while permitting some degree of misalignment or end movement or both. And if you have a three devices, if you are using three devices, or else let us assume we are going to discussing two different types of these coupling devices. The three devices are using inject or remove the energy from the waveguides. Let us assume if you want to remove the power or if you want to remove the energy from the waveguides, we need to use three devices. If you want to remove the power or energy from the waveguides, we need to use three devices. With the help of three devices, we need to remove. How to remove? Maybe either you need to inject the devices inside your waveguide, or you will be able to remove the energy. So those devices are probes, loops, and slots. There are three devices used to inject or remove the energy from the waveguides. Are probes, loops, and slots. Slots may be also called as apertures or windows sometimes. The another name for slots are maybe called apertures or windows. As the previous discussion we already discussed, when a small probe is inserted into a waveguide, as I previously discussed, when a small probe is inserted into a waveguide and supplied with microwave energy, it is act as a quarter wave antenna. Quarter wave antenna. You need to remember, any antenna will have both transmitter and receiver inside there. Okay, you need to remember that point also. So this is the current flow in the probe coupling. Here we are coupling two probes. This is the probe coupling in a rectangular waveguide. So inside the rectangular waveguide, you need to coupling the probe. This is the current flow. This is the current flow in the probe, which setups an E field, electric field, not magnetic. Okay. So just you need to see the current flows in the probe in the electric field. Okay. This is the probe coupling in the rectangular waveguide. This is the probe coupling in the rectangular waveguide. You need to see the length of the rectangular waveguide lambda by 4. And what is the direction of a field? You need to see. Okay, this is the direction. Okay, now from those diagrams, the most of the efficient place to locate the probe is in the center of the wall. In the center of a wall, which is parallel to the B wall. We have a AB. Let us assume from the this. Let us assume this is the A, maybe this is the B. Okay, now so the center of the A wall and parallel to the B wall, and 1/4 wavelength from the shorted end of the waveguide. This means that this is the point at which the electric field is maximum in the dominant mode. The electric field is maximum in the maximum in the dominant mode. Assume that you know it. Dominant mode is 10 mode. Okay, TE10. You need to remember TE10 is the dominant mode. So in that mode, the electric field is the maximum. You need to remember. Therefore, the energy transfer is maximum at this point. At this dominant mode, you need to transfer maximum energy. Using coupling. Okay, now note that the quarter wavelength spacing is at the frequency required to propagate the dominant mode. So here you require some frequency for propagating the dominant mode. Okay. So in many applications, a lesser degree of energy transfer is called loss coupling. Loss coupling. Loss coupling. Okay. Next, the amount of energy transfer can be reduced by decreasing the length of the probe. So if you want to reduce the if you want to minimize the energy, or if you want to reduce the energy, means you need to decreasing the length of the probe, then only you will able to this energy transfer can be reduced. The amount of energy transfer can be reduced by decreasing the length of the probe, by removing it out of the center of the E field. Okay, by moving it out of the center of the E field, you will able to reduce the energy, where the degree of coupling must be varied frequently. The probe is made retractable, so the length can be easily changed. So it means that you need to change the vary the degree of coupling, then only the probe is made retractable, so the length can be easily changed. If the length can be easily changed, the amount of energy transfer can be reduced. Okay, and the size and shape of the probe, how to define means the size and shape of the probe determines its frequency. The size and shape of the this probe determines its frequency and band, that will be determines the frequency, bandwidth and power handling capability. That probe shape and size will be determines its frequency, bandwidth and power handling capability. Based on these parameters, based on these three parameters, we will able to change the size and shape of the this probe coupling. And next, the diameter of a probe increases. As the diameter of a probe increases, the bandwidth will be increases. The bandwidth will be increases. Similarly, a probe in a shape to a doorknob is capable of handling much higher power and a larger bandwidth than a conventional probe. A probe similarly in a shape to a doorknob, assume that your probe may be have a shape of a doorknob, which will be have a capable of handling much higher power and a large bandwidth than a conventional power. Conventional power. You need to remember. Next, the greater power handling capability. The greater power handling capability is directly related to the increased surface area. This greater power handling capability is directly relates to the directly proportional to the increased surface area. And the last parameter of this probe type is removal of energy from a waveguide is simply a reversal of the injection process using the same type of probe. It means that if you want to remove the energy from the waveguide or from any waveguide, you need to inject the probe inside the waveguide. That injection process, you need to use that injection process, the same type of a probe. The same type of the probe. The next type is loop type. The next coupling mechanism, in the coupling mechanism, the next type is loop type. With the help of loop type, how to reduce and how to removing the energy from the waveguide. See, in the loop type, if you want to remove the energy, the another way of injecting energy into a waveguide is by setting up an H field in the waveguide. Another way of injecting energy into a waveguide is by setting up an H field in the waveguide. H field in the waveguide. This can be accomplished by the inserting a small loop which carries a high current into the waveguide. You need to remember, if you inserting a small loop type material inside in your waveguide which carries a high current into the waveguide, and from this waveguide we have a magnetic field which will be built up around the loop, and expands to fit the waveguide. And expands to fit the waveguide. If the frequency of a current, in a loop, is within the bandwidth of the waveguide, the energy will be transferred into the waveguide. The energy will be transferred to the waveguide. For the most coefficient coupling to the waveguide, for the most efficient coupling to the waveguide, the loop is inserted at one of several points. The loop is inserted at one of several points, whereas the magnetic field will be a greatest strength. Assume that when a less efficient coupling is reside, you can rotate or move the loop. Until it encircles a smaller number of H lines. When the diameter of a loop is increased, its power handling capability is also increased. When the diameter of a loop is increased, its power handling capability is also increased. If the bandwidth can be increased by increasing the size of the wire used to make the loop. If you increase this loop cable bandwidth, by increasing the size of the wire to make the loop. When the loop is introduced into a wavelength in which an H field is present, when a loop is introduced into a waveguide in which an H field is present, and a current is induced into a loop, here the loop will be happen. Okay, when this condition exists, energy is removed from the waveguide. When the condition exists, these conditions, the bandwidth is increased by increasing the size of the wire used to make the loop, and when the loop is introduced into a waveguide in which H field may be present and a current is induced in the loop. If the condition exists, energy is removed from the waveguide. This is the loop coupling in a rectangular waveguide. Fine. Yeah, this is the today topic. If you have any doubt, you need to ask. Just you need to remember. So the today topic is cavity resonator. Okay. So first you need to discuss what is the general definition of resonator. What is meant by cavity resonator? Okay. Waveguide components. So in that we already discussed the cavity resonator. So in that we already discussed the parameters of this. Just you need to remember what are those: introduction, rectangular waveguides, dominant modes, resonant frequencies. All this we already discussed. Okay. So this is actually today's topic: waveguide components and applications. So what is meant by waveguide components? We have to discuss. After that, what are the applications we have after using the waveguides? Okay, we have basic applications. These are. After that, types of waveguides. There are 5 types. Rectangular waveguide is already discussed. Remaining we will discuss in the syllabus coming topics. Okay. So then, scattering parameters. How to define scattering parameters? If you want to discuss scattering parameters, first we need to design the some matrices with the help of a two-port linear network. From that we need to derive the transfer matrix, impedance matrix, admittance matrix, and scattering matrix. So this is the diagram. So from this is the two-port network. So from this you need to apply two incoming signals A1 and A2, and we will get it the outcoming signals are B1 and B2. Sorry, B2 and B1. Using those two, here we have for input signal voltage is V1 from the terminal 1. From the terminal 2, the input signal amplitude is V2. Here the current flow is I2. Here the current flow is I1. So that and all we will discuss. So from the diagram, we define transfer matrix and impedance matrix. From the impedance matrix, you need to define the admittance matrix. So you need to do the inverse of the admittance. We will get the impedance matrix. After that, we need to define the transfer matrix like ABCD and impedance matrix like in jets only. After that, you need to derive the expression for scattering matrix with the help of incoming and outgoing waves. With the help of the diagram of two-port network S, you need to define like this scattering matrix. So in this we have reflection coefficients S11 and S22, and we have transfer coefficients S12 and S21. After that, you need to define scattering matrix, the relationship between the incoming and outgoing waves, or sometimes you need to call forward and backward moving waves. You need to define like in this manner. After that, we need to discuss properties of S matrix, property 1, 2, and 3, and 4. After that, you need to discuss coupling mechanism. With the help of coupling mechanism, how to removing the energy from the waveguides. What are the devices we require for removing the energy from the waveguide? So those are probe, loop, and slots. Today we already discussed probes and probe coupling and loop coupling. We already discussed from the today's topic. So next class we will discuss. Next class we will discuss slots, a aperture type, a window type. We will discuss next class. Thank you all of you. Thank you. Thank you for cooperating, and thank you for staying with valuable patience. Thank you all of you. Nanasiya, Rupa from B section.
Sir.
Nana, can you share up? Can you tell me the number of presentees from your section?
32, sir.
32. Yeah, from A section, Preetham, 48.
So 37, sir.
37. Yeah. 69. You have 3 participants. Yeah, thank you, Nana. Thank you, all of you.
Official director. Okay. After that number one is like somewhere like give gap to family, mother, 5 days. Okay. Yes. Full family.